All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a weekend edition of Players Gonna Play. I am Jack Fitzpatrick. I'm the gaming partnerships team at Off-Chain Labs, contributor to the Arbitrum ecosystem. Very excited to be streaming today here with Yujia over at the Curio team. They are just concluding a week-long first ever edition of the DuperBowl. So excited to have you here with us, Yujia, and would love to. Oh, I think we lost him. So he will be on with us shortly again in just a moment. But while he's getting sorted, I can give some background here on Duper. It is an awesome game. I think a pretty unique one in the space. Kind of similar to poker and Catan and diplomacy, if you've ever heard of that. So I think it's a fun one to dig into. Yujia is back with us, so we'd love to have you just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about the game as well before we bring your screen share on stage.
Definitely. Thanks, Jack. My internet just got choppy, so if that happens again, definitely let me know in the chat, so I'll adjust the Wi-Fi. But yeah, glad to be here. Hi, everyone. My name's Ija. I am co-founder of Curio, now building our flagship game, Duper, which is a social war strategy game that has a ton of strategic depth and also that natively involves wager. So today, I'm super excited to share with you the final match of the DuperBowl, which is the first ever big tournament series, first of the big tournament series that will run for a long time. And this DuperBowl in particular has around 10K in total prize pool, combining both from us and from the players. So yeah, I think in this today, I will tell you a bit about Duper. How we'll watch together how this final match went. It was just over. I don't know how exactly it went, so I will commentate on the way. And at the end, I'm very excited to tell you a bit about the season 2, also on Arbitrum, and the details there. So lots to expect there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
let's get into
cool.
it.
Yeah. So first, a few brief words on what Duper is, and more on this will be more clear once we start to watch the game. So Duper, as I said, it has a strategy element. It's a social strategy war game. So it has a strategy game elements you see on this board. Everyone has a capital to start with. Right, this is at the beginning of the final match. We have red in the middle and 4 other players on the corner. And we also have a diplomacy and chat panel on the left, where players are actually able to chat with each other and also trade with each other once. So they can trade with each other and then chat after a trade unlocks everyone's private chats. There are and how do you win a game of Duper? It's pretty straightforward. Either you capture 12 tiles, or a player captures holds the 5-card straight flush, which is something like a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of clubs, let's say. But the cool thing about Duper is winning is not all of it. Actually, winning is only it only guarantees that you don't lose money. You have to hold a lot of the gems from the eventual winner to be able to be profitable. And a bit on the wagering, everybody wagers at the beginning of a game of Duper. In this game, I believe the base wager was around 0.1 ETH. The player in the middle, actually, this is I think I'm watching it from the orange player's POV. Their initial stake is 0.12 ETH, so they actually topped up a little bit and bid higher than the minimum wager. And we'll see how the game plays out. More details I will point to them when we play out this final match. And again, very quickly on the final match of the DuperBowl. It's the last match of the DuperBowl, which in total has around 10K prize pool, considering both from us and from players. And yeah, it's we actually had I believe probably close to 50 matches already in the series, and this is the last one. And let's watch it. So without further ado, let's start the game. Let me unmute here. Make sure the audio is good, and let's play.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna play on 2x.
Nice. One of the elements I want to touch on is the just the ability to chat with other players, because I think that's a pretty unique. I mean, there's a lot that's unique about Duper, frankly, especially in the context of Web3. It's very real time. Like these folks were playing this game live. Obviously, we're watching a replay of it. In that sense, it's very similar, in my experience at least, to games like Catan or like board games that you'll play in person with your friends. That less frequently have wagering involved, at least natively in the game, maybe outside of it.
Yeah.
But the dialogue component is really interesting. I think important, just to facilitate a lot of the depth of the game. So just curious to hear your thoughts on that mechanism in particular, and how you guys kind of arrived at it in the game for Duper.
So you're talking about the diplomacy and the kind of gems dictating the payout element, right?
Yeah, and just like how important like the kind of like, because you're actually chatting with these people throughout the game, like, and you're strategizing with them. Maybe you're duping them, trying to backstab them later on. So just curious to hear your perspective on how that kind of into it.
So there's multiple layers on that. One of the biggest things, coolest things about crypto that we think can be applied to lots of applications is the idea of social speculation. In any context, you want to figure out who's winning, right, in this broader game, and how to basically bet on them, and so you can share part of the profit. Actually, that is Duper, right? So we wanted to bring that into a really fun context of a really fun strategy game, and that's where we arrived, right? You have natural language, which is one of the most powerful ways we humans, communicate and strategize, right, with each other. We want to apply it in an actual meaningful way in a strategy game, which has never been done before, except in the game called Diplomacy, which Jack, I think you're familiar with. So Duper, we compare ourselves with Diplomacy a lot. We learn from, we're a big fan of the game, learned a lot from its, design pros and cons, and actually it has impacted, like, for example, we added the trade element, which is, some people might find similarities with Catan. And the board is kind of like risk into the breach, etc. But yeah, really, like the idea of trading, of diplomacy comes a lot from the desire to embed social speculation in a meaningful way that involves money in the game, which lends itself very well to crypto.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I played Diplomacy quite a bit, and it's, for those who maybe aren't familiar, it's kind of like the square opposite of like an online game. it's like there's obviously like a map for the game, but in my experience, at least, most of the game happens through just dialogue and conversations with the other players. But there's something very interesting and meaningful about what changes when with Duper you infuse like real stakes into the game and you're trading. You only have so many of these stakes that you can, or gems that you can share with other players and whatnot. And so it makes each of those decisions super meaningful.
Definitely. And we're super early. This is season 1, which is the first ever public season we've run. DuperBowl is at the end of it. So if you're really into strategy games or into wagering, or if you're interested by what we're talking about relating to diplomacy, Duper might be a fun game for you. Definitely try it out. And here you actually see this is the final match, right? So here we're watching from the orange player's POV. They're talking with red. So they said, want a team, we can win this together. And red responded, hi orange, I'll be direct to the point. My only target is second place. And actually they're already talking about the straight flush possibility. So because orange has jack and queen and red has a 10, right? They only need 2 more cards to make a 5-card straight flush, which is a win condition. So they're already talking about that. And so here, because orange doesn't want the other players to know that they're trying to collect a straight flush, orange has hit those 2 cards.
So
yeah, go ahead.
The start of every turn, a card is drawn, or how exactly does that work for neutral?
Sorry. Oh, you mean when you hide the cards?
Or like these 2 are not too far off from getting the straight flush, but how can they go about getting 2 cards?
Yeah. Good question. So they basically need either 8, 9, king, or king ace, right? And so there are several ways to get new cards. One is obviously drawing from new rounds. Every beginning of new round for each player, they get a new card. Players also get a new card if they take a level 2 or level 3 tile and choose the card reward. Alternatively, they can try to look for that card in other players' hands. So when that happens, like let's say red shares a border right now with green and purple, right? So red's able to see the cards green and purple has. Orange cannot because orange does not share a border with green and purple yet. But also when orange's economist is ready, which is round 4, the next round, they'll also be able to see the cards of everyone else if they're not hiding them. And typically, you're not going to hide cards unless you're going for the straight flush. Some comments on the research centers people are building. This is kind of important to look at what direction people are going down. Out of the 4 research centers right now, 3 are economists. So people are playing pretty conservatively. One's a 4 researcher, 4 economists research centers, and 1 4 research center. Without confusing too much for those of you who are watching Duper for the first time, essentially economist research center gives you more gold, which allows you to build more stuff more freely, like build infantries, for example, which is just like increases your defense capacity and also attack capacity. So it never goes wrong to build a research center, economist research center. Fort is basically a stronger unit that allows you to capture nearby tiles and also defend them. And plane research centers basically produce planes, which allow you to initiate long distance strikes. And also it provides a surprise element because you can fly over other people's territory, which no other troops can do. So that's on the research centers.
I have a question on that, actually.
Yes.
Partially for the viewers' benefit, partially for my own. How do you balance between like territorial expansion / just building up the area that you do have, like investing in research centers and stuff like that, versus just trying to get out there?
That's a good question. So actually, it's those 2 are not typically in conflict, although there are some cases when they are. Building research center, you only need cards. You need combinations of 3 card straights. So let's say like 9, 10, jack, just like of any suit. And expanding takes gold as well as cards. So if you just use infantry, you can take level 1 tiles or level 2 tiles, or even level 3 tiles, just with greater damage. If you, let's say, want to build a tank and use tanks to support your infantries and attacks, it does cost you less gold, but more cards. So there's a little bit of trade-off, but typically when people are able to build a research center, they go for the research center. And in fact, people go all the way to trade with other people. Let's say I have a 5 and 6 and I need a 7 to make a 3-card straight. If I see someone with a 7, I might want to trade with them and give them a card that I don't need in exchange for that card. And also I give them an extra gem. kind of like giving them, my eventual equity, right? If I end up winning the game. And they typically accept. In that case, people would go for the research center.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Okay, so here actually we have 9, Jack, Queen, and Red already has a king. So if they just need the 10, right? They just need the 10 of diamonds. If this ends right here, it's going to be very fast for a game. Typically, a game of Duper lasts somewhere between 5 and 12 rounds, I would say. And that would translate to something between 20 to 50 minutes. So now actually what we're seeing, I'm going to pause here real quick because I feel like the game's going to end pretty quickly, as you can see here. We have orange holding 9, Jack, Queen, King of diamonds, which means that they just need another 10, right? And now they previously the cards were held between red and orange, and now orange was able to initiate a bunch of card trades with red, getting those the cards that they need. And red have accepted all of them, which means also red has gotten 4 gems from orange. So red is very invested in orange taking a victory at this point. And here, actually, red used up a lot of gold to upgrade to level 3, and then afterwards they initiated swap gem with orange. And this trade type you can only use once you're at level 3 capital. And you see red kind of rushed to level 3 in round 4, which is like very, very impressive, I would say, to just swap and get another gem from orange because they kind of expect orange to be able to win. So that's like pretty interesting dynamics there already. Yeah, Jack, let me know if you have any thoughts or comments. I'll continue playing the game.
No, yeah, that's awesome. One thing that I am curious about is like, do you think red, the individual in the middle of the map, do you think that is like a less favorable spot for any reason, or because I have played out of that position a handful of times, and I can never tell if I'm hosed out the gates or.
Yeah, I would say if you don't know how the defense works, the basics of attacks and defense, red is a very dangerous position to play because you have 4 players surrounding you, right? Once you understand once you have a really good understanding of how the battles work and the troop types, and also diplomacy, like if you have a strategy where you're able to solicit gems successfully from other people, red is actually a really good position to be in because you share a border very easily with other 4 players, which means you get a head start in trading with other people, which means it can mean like faster building production. It can mean more gems held by other people, right? It could mean just like more people out of everyone to be able to choose an ally from. So I like playing red. Not everyone is a fan of it. Some people really don't like it, including some really advanced players. So you're definitely not alone there.
We can say we have a lot in
right. Yeah, in this case, right? Oh shit! So here, you see that orange actually already got the 10 of diamonds from red, thus collecting the straight flush. So as long as they hold the straight flush till the end of next round, they actually win the game. So I would say this is like an exception that is allowed by the game rules, but an exception they're still it's like a pretty fast game out of all the games. And you see, like, back to your question, red had a big advantage because they were able to trade with orange before everyone was, right? And so, they started collecting, like nobody else knew what orange was going for because orange hit those cards and only red knew and had, even 1 to 2 cards that they needed. Orange then had to disclose all the information and tell them, oh, what card I need. So at that point,
orange gems does red have right now?
Yeah, red has at least 6 orange gems based on the trade here. They might have even more based on the initial randomization, which is like at most 1. So 6 to 7.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and because nobody else has Yeah, because nobody has a plane right now. Nobody can actually strike orange, which is the only way to knock him out at this point from winning. And so the game will just end by the next round. It might be a little boring from now.
Wait, so
I would say, yeah, go ahead.
is it possible for them to lose their card? Like, can they lose
Yeah,
their cards?
it is possible.
Just one. Like,
It is possible. So what they can do right now, they've hidden all the cards, which means other people cannot initiate trade with them. But what they can do is attack their capital, and that has a probability eventually. Currently 35%. We're going to increase that a little bit to 50% of dropping a card, and that card goes to the attacker. So yeah.
Okay.
But right now, because nobody has a plane and everyone is limited to attack point of 2 in each round, which means they can only attack twice in each round, nobody can kill or even reach orange capital by the game end, when the game would end, right? So it's kind of desperate on the other player's part. And, to be frank, that's something we're trying to improve. Right now, if you get a straight flush in this scenario, it's like pretty hopeless for the other players, which like, some randomization is good, some random factor is good. Feeling hopeless is not, and we're like, that is indeed a problem that we need to fix in season 2.
Yeah, it's a balance. Like the good thing is
Right.
that it's like,
no randomness, and that means like, people with different styles, people with different just like time of playing the game. Like the more junior people would just never have a chance. That's also not good. But too much or designed in the wrong way lead to hopelessness, which is also bad. So it's a delicate balance for sure.
Yeah, but that's also like, that's an advantage, I think, and something why I'm excited that you guys are pushing forward here, because in a Web 2 system, that's where like I just stopped playing, because I'm like, I also have no confidence in the underlying system, so I have no confidence that like they actually got a straight flush by like relatively organic means. Whereas here you have some confidence that that's actually happening, because you
exactly
can go and validate, etc. So that's the fairness component, I think, is what actually makes a lot of these systems possible.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So
at this moment, the game's gonna end by the end of green's turn. So yeah, orange wins the game, and let's look at the payout. So because orange has given red 6 gems and blue 2 gems, actually the winner's not the biggest earner, and that's a pretty typical phenomenon in Duper. The winner doesn't have to be the biggest earner in a game. Red, because they held 6 of orange gems, they actually made a total of 0.14 ETH, which I believe is something like $400 maybe with today's price. Orange made almost 0.1. Blue and purple and green. Poor purple and green lost most of their actually all of their stake, because they didn't have a chance to trade with orange before they won. So yeah, that's how the game. And did you have some comment that I cut you off?
Oh no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I guess I have one kind of question before we like move on to season 2 stuff.
Right.
Just while we set up the game in front of us, because it is definitely a game, like for the same reasons that make it extremely interesting. It's also a game that I think takes a little bit more understanding to get out of like first gear. So just for like first time listeners, like what advice do you have for getting up to speed and getting started and feeling confident with like the basics?
Definitely. So that's a great question. I would say, so first, the domain of Duper is duper.gg. It's duper.gg. So after you sign up, I would suggest a couple of things. The playground is great for you to learn the basics and figure out how to attack, what things you can do in the game, right? Like for you to just figure out those basics. the custom mode, there's if you create a Sparks custom mode, you can actually play with up to 4 AIs, or maybe with 2 friends and 2 AIs. That's kind of an extension of the playground for you to figure out the basics. To actually learn the strategy, I would I would rank 3 things. The top most helpful thing is to actually play, and there is a casual mode which right now is completely free to play. In season 2, it's also completely free to play, with the caveat of if you want to play it for money, you can. You buy the level 1 season pass, and now all of a sudden the sparks, which is the in-game currency, will start counting. And if you're able to earn sparks from playing other players and also earn sparks from completing quests, those sparks you can actually sell back to the system for a slightly lower price than how much you can buy them for. So think of the casual mode if you want to play seriously. Again, you can play completely for free, but if you want to play for money, it's like pretty much like $1 games. That's going to be the most helpful, like to actually play with real people to see how they do diplomacy and move troops and strategize. Number 2, once you've played a little bit, like maybe just 1 to 2 games, I would say the game docs is really, really helpful for understanding the exact game rules. Like after you play a bit, you're probably curious, right? Like, hey, I'm capital level 2. Why did the other player destroy me with 20 troops? Or, oh, like I kept giving out gems, but why wasn't I profitable at the end? Oh, because I didn't get gems from them, right? And you start to be curious, like, how does the game actually work? And hopefully it's very interesting to you after you've played 2 games. The game docs players have said are really, really helpful on that for that purpose. Number 3, there are some really good videos on our YouTube and also on our X. So some of them are actually shown here. These 2 are actually made by 2 of our top players, Kaladin and Physics. One is explaining gems. One's commentating a dealer POV match they played. There are other videos, and I think the town hall in particular that we hold once a week are really, really helpful. We look at some of the top matches in the past week, and we commentate. Most of the players come together and sometimes yell at each other, sometimes constructively talk about strategy. That's also people have said to be really, really helpful. So yeah, again, playing's most helpful. Game docs once you've played a little bit, and definitely watch some videos, especially full game commentaries.
Excellent. That was perfect. That was exactly what I was hoping you would share. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, appreciate you asking.
No doubt.
So should I talk a bit about season 2 before we wrap up?
Yeah, please. That sounds great.
Yeah. So season 2, the docs are still being prepared, but they'll probably be released on Monday. So season 2 is going to be a fresh new season again on Arbitrum, starting on October 7th, Monday, which is the Monday after next, lasting for 6 weeks. And in the process, there's going to be a variety of rewards similar to season 1. There's going to be a new set of quests for you to basically earn free sparks once you achieve them. So for example, they'll teach you how to use planes and teach you how to attack with your super capital, etc. There will be 2 new season passes. Again, the level 1 is more focused on the casual game, and which is essentially a $1 game mode. And there's going to be a more advanced level 2 season pass, which has a high ETH reward for you to basically, let's say like you play 30 games in the season, you get this amount of reward. If you play 40, you get this amount of reward. It's a nice thing for you to, for us to encourage you to play more while earning ETH along the way. And there's going to be, in terms of the game, there's going to be a big game update that resolved a lot of the our current players' suggestions and also the problems they've identified. For example, we're adding a slight nerf to the straight flush victory, right? For other players to not feel hopeless. The game models, the Unity game models are going to be upgraded, so the game will look a lot more beautiful compared to now even. And there's going to be new cards. There's going to be a bunch of things in the game. So like, for example, chess notation, battle log, just like features that our core players have been requesting and we think make sense. Those will mostly be added by season 2. what else? There's probably other things I'm forgetting. Emblems. We've been talking about emblems for a bit. This is like, that's what loot box is opened up to. Emblems will be released in limited testing mode in mid-season of season 2, and by season 3 they will become a thing fully. So that's also something to look forward to. And I think that's pretty much it. Just to emphasize again, Sparks will be right now you can only buy Sparks. You also in season 2 you can also sell Sparks back to the system, and eventually our goal is for Sparks to become kind of like a stable currency with market forces. Like if we, Sparks will have utility for example, upgrading generals and emblems and also other things, and they'll have and also you can use that to play casual mode. Hopefully we'll release the open trading of that as soon as we have a large enough player base. But yeah, season 2, like takeaway, there's going to be basically like a big game upgrade. There's going to be new incentives and rewards. So it's definitely a great time to get into.
Heck yeah. There's also something for everybody. Like if you're still feeling like you need to have the training wheels on, the $1 mode seems like a great way to practice while also still playing with real stakes and feeling
definitely
skin in the game. So I think that's a great approach. You have something for like the more casual user or somebody who's getting ramped up, but also the folks who really want to lean into the competitive side, which I think is also super interesting.
Definitely. One more thing, actually. So some of our players have been asking for a high stake game. I know y'all think like $15, 0.005 ETH is like way too low for you. For those of you, once we hit a higher player base, which is our goal for season 2, season 3, and beyond, we'll start to host weekly or perhaps even more frequent games with much higher wager, perhaps in the hundreds or thousands. Right now we don't have that purely because of player liquidity. So it's definitely something on the roadmap. Just wanted to let you all whales who are listening to this know.
Awesome. Love it. Well, anything else that you want to make sure that you touch on before we wrap up here?
No, I think that's it. It was great seeing you in Singapore briefly. And
I mentioned I've got my DuperBowl.
Oh, let's go.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Almost let that slip. But
and thanks for having me. This was super fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for joining us. Congrats to the victor of DuperBowl Season 1. But we will catch everybody for Season 2 on Arbitrum starting October 7th. I believe I got that right.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you, Yujia, for joining us. We will catch everybody there. Have a great weekend.
Yep. Bye.
Cheers, guys.